tale of the custard, the dragon. Now this poem is not just humorous, but at the same time, it conveys a very practical message of life. Before I start the poem, I would like to remind you of your childhood days, and I want to start with a small fable. I'm sure all of us remember that in our earlier years of school, we must have read a story of the lion and the mouse, in which a lion caught a mouse who was playing on him when he was asleep. And when the mouse pleaded for his life in front of the lion and stated that someday he might be able to help him, the lion started laughing. But when one day the time changed and the lion was caught by a hunter, it was indeed the mouse, that only mouse, who saved him by gnawing the nets and setting the mighty beast free. Now what does this story explain to us? Now this story explains to us that there are many times when we make judgments merely by looking at the outer appearance of a person, which is not always correct. In case of the story of the lion and the mouse, the first thought that comes to our mind is about a mouse is that mouse is a very small animal, and how can he help someone as huge as lion? But however, in the actual situation, it is the mouse only who saved the lion's life. So hence it would be correct if we say that appearances are often deceiving or appearances are deceptive. We should not actually go by the looks only. And this same thought is being conveyed by the poet in this humorous poem through the character, the dragon, whose name is Custard. Now let's take a look at this poem. This poem is divided into 15 stanzas. And I'll be explaining you first 3 stanzas today. The rest stanzas will be taken up in the next sessions. So if we talk about the poet, his full name is Frederick Ogden Nash, and he was born on August 19, 1902 in New York. He was an American poet, and he was very famous and well known for his light verse. Now what does the word light verse means? Humorous type of poems, of which he wrote 500 pieces. And he was one of the most successful English language poet of the 20th century, and with his unconventional and unusual rhyming schemes, he was declared as the country's best known producer of humorous poetry. So if we talk about the poem, if we talk about the style of the poem, now this poem is written in the style of ballad. Now what does the word ballad means? You know, ballad is a song or a poem that tells a story of a heroic deed or heroism. And in this ballad, we will study about the heroic deed of a dragon. Ogden Nash is well known for his children's poetry, and this particular poem is one such poem. It is like a fairy tale indeed. The story itself is very, very simple, but its moral is an important one, that we must never judge anyone without getting to know them well. We should not be judgmental. So let's begin with our first session. Now in this session, I'll be giving you the brief introduction of the poem, like what is the poem all about. I'll be explaining you first 3 stanzas of the poem, and I'll be giving you the meaning of difficult words so that things become easy for you. So let's get started, and hope you're ready with a pen and paper so that you can just write down some important points. If we talk about the poem, now this poem is a very funny, humorous and hilarious poem that tells the story of a little girl, Belinda, and her pets. So basically it's a story about Belinda and her pets. So Belinda is the owner of all pets, and this poem is told in a light-hearted manner. It's not on a very serious matter. Belinda lives with the little pets, a kitten, a mouse, a dog, and a dragon. So these are the pets of Belinda, and they used to live with Belinda in a little white house. Belinda and all her pets except the dragon, they have been described in this poem as very brave creatures. Even the mouse and the kitten, they have been shown to be so brave, that they can chase lions away. But the dragon, is portrayed as a very coward character, coward pet, that it is always looking for the safety of a cage. The dragon surprises everyone with his heroic act of killing a pirate who had come to Belinda's house and meant harm to her and her pets. And all the bravery of Belinda and rest of her pets, it failed. And they ran screaming for help here and there. But the dragon, who was portrayed as a very submissive and timid creature throughout the poem, surprises everyone. He was thought as a coward but rescued them from the pirate. Them here means pets and Belinda. So this poem aims at commenting on people and their boastful nature. But when it comes to real help, they are nowhere to help their near and dear ones. So let's take now look at the stanza-wise explanation. I'll be explaining you the difficult words and I'll be explaining the poem. I'll be reading the poem and I'll be explaining each and every line of the poem. Belinda lived in a little white house with a little black kitten and a little grey mouse, and a little yellow dog and a little red wagon, and a realio, trulio little pet dragon. Now, if we see these lines, they have many rhyming words like house, mouse, wagon, dragon. So the rhyme scheme is AABB. And there are many words which are repeated again, like the little word is repeated 6 times in this stanza. So I've highlighted those words which are repeated, and I've highlighted the rhyme scheme also, house, mouse, wagon, dragon. So AABB. So I'll read the first line. Belinda lived in a little white house. It means it's self-explanatory that Belinda used to live in a little white house. Belinda is the name of a character. And then with the little black kitten and the little grey mouse. So there is an introduction of all the characters of the poem. And a realio, trulio little pet dragon. Now realio, trulio. He has changed the spelling of these words deliberately to give a rhyming effect to the poem. Now this is called poetic license, that poets have the freedom to change the spellings of some words so that they can make their poem more effective or musical. Wagon means a carriage, okay, and dragons are mythological creatures or imaginary creatures. They don't exist, but they are mythological creatures. They are usually thought to have wings and breathe fire. They also are said to have scales and claws. Some also have horns. So in this stanza, we can see that there is introduction of the characters and then Belinda and her pets. Now let's move on to the second stanza. Now the name of the little black kitten was Ink, and the little grey mouse she called her Blink, and the little yellow dog was sharp as mustard, but the dragon was a coward and she called him Custard. Now again there is a repetition of the word little in this stanza, and there are rhyming words like ink, blink, mustard, custard. So rhyme scheme is AABB. And there is alliteration also. K sound is repeated. Covered, custard, called. And coward means one who fears a lot. So now in this stanza, we come to know about the names of different characters, different pets. Belinda had named her little black kitten as Ink, and her little grey mouse was called Blink. So Ink and Blink. The color of a dog was as sharp and yellow as mustard. So mustard, I'm sure you must be knowing what is mustard. Mustard seeds or mustard sauce, mustard fields, they are all yellow in color. And a dragon was called Custard. So dragon name is Custard. Here the readers are introduced to the cowardice of Custard. That's why the word coward is used for Custard. So we come to know about the names of different characters. Let's move on to the third stanza. Custard the dragon had big sharp teeth and spikes on top of him and scales underneath. Mouth like a fireplace, chimney for a nose, and realio, trulio daggers on his toes. Now there is a physical description of the dragon. So this stanza is very important because the main character of the poem, that is dragon, his description is given. In this stanza, the poet has described the main character. The dragon has big sharp teeth and spikes on its back. Now what are spikes? They are sharp pointed structures. You can see a white colored structures on the body of dragon. Now what are scales? They are thin bony plates. They are protecting the skin of fish and some reptiles. And now, why the word fireplace is used for its mouth? The place where fire is burnt to keep the house warm. And chimney, you know what is chimney? A long pipe that opens on the roof to let out the smoke released from the fireplace. So his mouth is like a fireplace. And daggers are sharp knives. Underneath means situated directly below. So in this stanza, the poet Ogden Nash has described the main character, the dragon, Custard, whose name is Custard. The dragon has big sharp teeth and spikes on its back that could easily scare anyone away. On the lower part of dragon it had scales, which were bony plates to protect the skin. And his mouth has been compared to a fireplace. So there is a simile which is used to describe his mouth. It is like a fireplace because it is assumed that dragons can release fire from their mouth. Even his nose is compared to chimney, which is used to pass out smoke. So it's like chimney because the smoke can come out. His feet are like a sharp knife, that is dagger. So there is a description, physical description of the dragon is given. So it's very important for you to read the poem aloud, paying attention to the rhythm so that you can enjoy the poem. And please solve the assignment which is being given to you, and it is expected that you do that assignment on your own. Thank you, students, and hope you have understood the explanation of the first three stanzas.